I want to start this by saying, I grew up poor. Not, we couldn't afford the new iPhone, poor, but the kind of poor where the electricity would get cut off, dinner was a single loaf of bread, and I wore the same shoes for 3 years because buying new ones wasn't an option. Poverty, for me, wasn't just a financial situation, it was a constant, suffocating atmosphere that followed me everywhere I went. People often think poverty is just about money. It's not. It's the way teachers look at you when you don't bring supplies. It's the way friends stop inviting you because you can't afford outings. It's the way your stomach knots when you hear your parents arguing over bills, and you know deep down there's nothing you can do to fix it. My journey out of it wasn't glamorous. It wasn't some overnight, I started a company and now I'm rich. It was years of clawing, failing, starting over, crying into a pillow at 3 a.m. and convincing myself every single day that I wasn't doomed to repeat the cycle. Let me take you back. I was born in a small town where success basically meant getting a stable job at the local factory. Nobody around me talked about dreams or ambitions. If anything, dreaming was mocked. If you said you wanted more, people would laugh, roll their eyes, and say, "Don't think you're better than us." And for the longest time, I believed them. By the time I was 18, I was broke, working 2 dead-end jobs, and already burned out. I didn't go to college. I couldn't. Tuition was impossible, and even if I somehow got loans, my family needed me to bring money home. I was stuck. And I'll be honest, I hated myself. I hated my situation. Every morning, I woke up with this crushing weight on my chest, thinking, is this it? Is this my whole life? The turning point. It wasn't one single, Hollywood, moment that flipped a switch. It was actually humiliation. One day, my debit card got declined for a $3 coffee. I laughed it off in front of the cashier, but inside, something snapped. Not because of the coffee, but because I realized how powerless I was. I couldn't even buy the cheapest luxury. I couldn't provide. I couldn't breathe without thinking about money. That night, I sat in my freezing room, we didn't turn on the heat because of the bill, and made a promise to myself, this ends with me. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how many times I fail. I'm not staying here. Step 1, Learning. The only free resource I had was the internet. I didn't have mentors, I didn't have connections, but I had YouTube, free blogs, and a local library. So I started devouring everything: finance basics, entrepreneurship, freelancing, digital skills. At first, it was overwhelming. I didn't understand half the words. But every night, instead of zoning out with TV, I studied. Here's the thing, knowledge doesn't instantly put money in your pocket, but it changes how you see the world. For the first time, I realized there were people who had been exactly where I was and had climbed out. If they could do it, maybe I could too. Step 2, the first side hustle. The first thing I tried was freelance writing. I had no degree, no experience, and honestly, no idea what I was doing. But I signed up for a cheap freelancing platform and offered to write blog posts for $5 each. And to my shock, someone actually hired me. It was terrible money. I was basically working for pennies. But that first $5 online felt like I had just discovered a secret code. It was proof that I wasn't trapped by geography or circumstance. I could earn money without a boss hovering over me. From there, I kept grinding. I wrote late at night after work, sometimes falling asleep at the keyboard. Slowly, $5 became $10, then $20. Eventually, I was making a few hundred extra dollars a month. That money meant I could start saving, not much, but enough to feel momentum. Step 3, Failures. I wish I could say everything was smooth from there, but it wasn't. I tried starting a dropshipping store, it bombed. I tried selling digital courses way too early, nobody bought them. I even went into debt buying a business package that turned out to be a scam. Each failure crushed me. Every time, I wanted to quit. But every time, I remembered that night with the declined card and thought, never again. Step 4, the breakthrough. After a couple years of trial and error, I stumbled into something that actually clicked: digital marketing. Companies would pay good money for help with social media, ads, and content. And all the freelancing I had done had unknowingly built me the skills I needed. At first, I landed one small client. Then another. Then, through referrals, I suddenly had a handful of businesses relying on me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was earning more than enough to cover my bills. I remember the exact moment it hit me. I was paying rent, and for the first time, I didn't have to check my balance before swiping my card. I cried. I'm not ashamed to admit it. That simple act, paying for a roof over my head without fear, was the most liberating moment of my life. Step 5, building, not just surviving. Once the money started coming consistently, I realized something important: escaping poverty isn't just about making more money. It's about reprogramming your brain. Poor was all I had ever known, so I had poor habits, poor mindset, poor everything. So I forced myself to learn budgeting. I forced myself to save an emergency fund. I forced myself to invest a small amount each month, even when it felt scary. Little by little, the panic in my chest started fading. Now, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not driving a sports car or living in a mansion. But I'm free. I don't panic when the bills come. I can help my family. I can afford small luxuries without guilt. And most importantly, I know this isn't the end. For the first time in my life, the future excites me instead of terrifying me. What I learned. If you're reading this and you feel stuck, here's what I want you to know. Nobody is coming to save you. Waiting for the perfect opportunity is just another way of staying still. Start small. My journey began with $5 blog posts. Failure is not optional, it's required. Every failed attempt taught me something I used later. Poverty is not just financial, it's mental. You have to fight the mindset as hard as the money. I used to think my story was boring, that nobody would care. But the truth is, I know there are people out there right now who feel trapped the same way I did. And if sharing my messy, imperfect path can give even one person hope, then it's worth it. Because here's the truth: you can escape. You don't have to stay where you were born. You don't have to live and die in survival mode. It's hard, it's brutal, and it's slow, but it's possible. And if I did it, you can too. The part nobody talks about. One thing I never mention enough: the loneliness. Poverty isolates you. It's not just that you can't afford nights out, it's the shame that eats at you. I remember lying to friends, saying I was busy when really I couldn't afford even bus fare. Over time, they stopped asking. And once people stop asking, the silence is brutal. When I started freelancing, it didn't magically fix that. In fact, it made it worse at first. Picture this: me, sitting in a tiny, damp room with peeling wallpaper, typing articles about luxury travel destinations I could never dream of visiting. I was writing about $5,000 hotel stays while eating instant noodles. The irony wasn't lost on me. But instead of letting it crush me, I used it as fuel. I told myself, someday, I'll go there too. And I'll pay for it myself. The sacrifices. People love to glamorize the grind. Let me tell you what it actually looked like. I slept about 4 to 5 hours a night for nearly 2 years. Work, freelance, study, repeat. My health tanked. I lived on coffee, noodles, and cheap bread. There were nights when I was so tired, I'd forget if I had eaten. My relationships suffered. I missed birthdays, I missed family dinners, I even lost a relationship because my partner felt like she was dating a ghost. At the time, it hurt like hell. But looking back, I don't regret it. Because what's 2 years of sacrifice compared to a lifetime of freedom? Family and guilt. This part is hard to write. My family relied on me financially, and when I started earning more, I had to make a choice: keep giving them every cent, and stay broke myself, or finally start building something for my own future. I felt guilty the first time I said no. I remember my mom asking for money for something small, and I hesitated. That hesitation ate me alive. But here's what I realized: if I didn't secure myself first, I'd never be able to truly help them. You can't pour from an empty cup. Years later, I was finally able to give back in a meaningful way. I paid off some of their debts. I fixed up their house. And the look on my mom's face the day I handed her that envelope, I'll carry it with me forever. The weirdest client I ever had. To lighten it up a bit, during those early freelancing years, I once got hired by a guy who wanted me to write 20 blog posts about the mating habits of penguins. I kid you not. 20. Full-length. Detailed. Scientific but funny articles about penguins. I thought it was insane. But he paid. And I needed the money. So for a solid month, I became the internet's foremost expert on penguin love lives. To this day, my friends joke that I could teach a college course on penguin romance. And honestly, that client kept the lights on for 2 more months. The first real taste of freedom. I'll never forget the night I booked a flight, my first flight ever, using money I had earned myself. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't international. Just a budget airline to a neighboring city. But when I printed that ticket, I felt something I can't describe. It was like tearing off invisible chains. Sitting on that plane, looking out the window as the ground disappeared, I cried again. Not because I was sad, but because for the first time in my life, I was moving forward, physically and metaphorically. Where I am now. Life isn't perfect. I still have fears, like slipping back into old patterns, or losing everything in one bad turn. But I'm miles from where I started. I've built a small agency. I've traveled to places I used to only write about. I can walk into a store and buy groceries without checking my balance. That sounds small, but if you've ever been broke, you know it's everything. And now, the best part? I get to help others. I've mentored younger freelancers, I've shared resources, and sometimes I just pay for someone's groceries when I see them counting coins at the checkout, because I was that person once. Final thoughts. If you're listening to this, and you feel like you'll never get out, please understand, it will take longer than you want. It will hurt more than you think you can handle. But it is possible. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Start where you are, with what you have. Even if it's just $5 blog posts or weird penguin articles. Because someday, if you keep pushing, you'll look back and realize, the chains you thought were permanent were never locked at all.